Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are cracking open one of the most intense, groundbreaking novels ever written, Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre.
And we're going to jump right in with a quote that just sends shivers down your spine, doesn't it? This line, right from the get-go, tells you everything you need to know. This is a story that is absolutely simmering with secrets, danger, and some serious suspense.
So what is Jane Eyre really about when you boil it all down? Well, it's a quest. It's the story of one woman's search for love, sure. But maybe even more importantly, it's about her fight for independence and a place to truly belong, which was no easy task in the rigid, unforgiving world of 19th century England.
And here she is, our hero, Jane. Her whole life is defined by this struggle. See, after her parents die, she's shipped off to live with her cruel aunt, Mrs. Reed. And there, she's treated worse than a servant. She's a total outcast in what's supposed to be her family's home.
Jane's early life is really a tale of two extremes. On the one hand, you have this relentless, soul-crushing cruelty, but on the other, it's where she experiences the very first sparks of kindness and friendship that will forge her incredible resilience.
Yeah, this really lays it all out. At her aunt's house, Gateshead, her cousin John literally attacks her, screaming that she's just a poor relation. And what happens when she dares to fight back? She gets locked in the Red Room, the terrifying room where her uncle died. But then she's sent to Lowood, this charity school for orphans. Now, don't get me wrong, the place is brutal. We're talking public humiliation, freezing rooms, and a typhus outbreak that is absolutely devastating. But it's also at Lowood that she finds true friendship for the first time.
So Jane spends 8 long years at Lowood, first as a student and later as a teacher. But when her best friend and mentor, Miss Temple, gets married and leaves, Jane feels this powerful pull for something new. So she does something incredibly bold for a woman of her time and station. She places an ad in the paper seeking a job as a governess.
And this, right here, is where the story really ignites. That little ad leads her to Thornfield Hall, a huge, mysterious mansion. It seems like she might finally find happiness, but it doesn't take long for her to realize that the house and its moody, brooding owner are hiding some very, very dark secrets. So the first clue that something is seriously off? This strange, eerie laughter she hears echoing from the attic. They tell her, oh, don't worry, that's just a servant, Grace Poole. But the sound is so unsettling, so full of pain, that the explanation just doesn't add up. It's the first thread in a mystery that's about to unravel.
And things escalate fast. One night, a fire is deliberately set in the bed of her employer, the mysterious Mr. Rochester. It's Jane who discovers it and saves his life. And you know, nothing forges a bond quite like a life-or-death situation. This dangerous moment pulls them into a much more intense, complicated relationship.
So you have to be asking, what on earth is Mr. Rochester hiding? The suspense just keeps building until one night, a guest, a Mr. Mason, is violently attacked. Jane is woken by a blood-curdling scream and finds him bleeding, while Rochester frantically tries to cover the whole thing up. It's official. Thornfield is not a safe place.
And all of this leads to the novel's massive, dramatic climax. Jane and Rochester have fallen deeply in love. She finally believes she's found her home, her equal partner. And that's when a terrible secret comes out at the absolute worst possible moment.
Okay, picture the scene. Step 1. Jane and Rochester are at the altar, moments away from being married. Step 2. Suddenly a voice rings out, a lawyer objects. Step 3. The bombshell drops. Mr. Rochester is already married. And finally, step 4. A cornered Rochester drags the whole wedding party up to the attic to reveal his secret first wife, Bertha Mason, who has been violently imprisoned up there this entire time.
Rochester tries to explain it all away, but for Jane, this is a total deal-breaker. She loves him, but she respects herself more. She will not be his mistress. In an absolutely incredible show of integrity, she flees Thornfield in the middle of the night with basically nothing.
This next chapter in Jane's life is all about her journey to true independence. I mean, she hits absolute rock bottom. We're talking starving, penniless, all alone. But it's from this place that she forges herself into the equal partner she always deserved to be.
Literally on death's doorstep, she collapses in front of a house owned by the Rivers family. They take her in, nurse her back to health, and she begins to rebuild her life, finding purpose as a humble schoolteacher in a small village.
And then, out of absolutely nowhere, her life turns on a dime. A lawyer tracks her down to tell her that a long-lost uncle has died and left her a fortune, £20,000. To put that in perspective, that's an enormous sum of money. In a single moment, she goes from having nothing to being a wealthy, independent woman.
But wait, the twists aren't over. It turns out that the Rivers family, the very people who saved her life, are her cousins. They're her actual family. And in an amazing act of generosity, she insists on splitting the inheritance 4 ways, finally creating the family she's longed for her entire life.
So now, as an independent woman, Jane gets another proposal. This one is from her cousin, the cold and ambitious St. John Rivers. And this really shows the 2 paths she can take. St. John offers a life of duty, a loveless marriage where she'd be a missionary's wife. But her heart is still with Rochester, with that passionate connection. And just as she's about to give in to St. John, she hears it, a strange supernatural voice crying her name across the moors. It's Rochester. She knows she has to go back.
But the end of this story is not your typical fairy tale. Jane doesn't return to the powerful, brooding master of a grand estate. No, she returns to a man who has been completely humbled by fate, which finally allows them to meet as true, undeniable equals.
When she finally gets back to Thornfield, this is the shocking sight that greets her. The grand mansion she once knew has been burned to the ground. It's just a blackened ruin.
So what happened? Well, Bertha escaped, set the entire house on fire, and then leaped to her death from the roof. In a final, heroic attempt, Rochester tried to save everyone, including Bertha, but the house collapsed on him. He survived, but he was left blind and have lost a hand.
Jane finds him living in isolation, a broken man. And their reunion is one of the most moving scenes in all of literature. He can't believe it's really her. But now, Jane, wealthy and whole, returns not as his employee or dependent, but as his caregiver, his partner, his equal.
And that really brings us to the final, big question. Why are we still so captivated by this story? It's because Jane's quest was something truly radical, both for her time and for ours. She demands the right to be passionately loved and to be her own independent person. She refuses to choose between love and self-respect. She wants both. And that was a revolutionary idea then, and it's still an incredibly powerful one today.